Ali, let me ask you, first question for you. In the design and startup world, we keep talking about scaling up. Now, you've already shared space with Dame Judi Dench. What does scaling up mean for you?
Yeah, I suppose it's to be able to be heard on the other end of the world. And
And you
we,
want
I mean, we keep finding ways. That's what it's all about. I was just telling a friend yesterday that everything, and this is what I've realized, everything works on मुझे पता है तुम्हें नहीं पता है. That's the crux of it all. And we are finding permutations and combinations within that, right? Branding, music, art, I mean, war, nuclear energy, everything. It's all about politics for that matter, everything. So, yeah, that's a very vague answer to your question of scaling up.
Okay, what's the non-state answer? What does scaling up to you mean as an actor? Bigger, better budgets, bigger, better co-stars? What does it mean to you?
No, it's being able to get a stage where I can play ball peacefully. That's literally what it is. And sometimes it takes a big budget to make that happen. Sometimes great actors that I can share notes with. Um, that's what we're looking for. वो जो रस हम ढूंढते हैं. But listen, just because you've asked me, also I have the mic, I have to please thank you for giving such a wonderful, Rajiv sir, such a wonderful, wonderful presentation. And yeah, no, because these are the ingredients that go in creating our work. I, as an actor, have done this homework in my house. I create the rasas and the permutations and combinations and all emotions through breath. So, and when I read scripts, I have music, and I have a different playlist of every single film, every single show, every single thing that I do on my phone. So I'm glad that it's out there, it's happening, and or probably I'm very ignorant that it's been happening for a while, but I suppose just to see it in form is really nice.
Next question for Sonal. Sonal, you're in advertising, you're a blackjack player, you drink single malts, you're writing plays, you're directing feature films. This is a lot of skill. And this discussion is about the business of creativity. Tell us a little bit about how all these different parts of you work in sync with each other.
Yeah, I think they all feed each other. And I've realized that for any creative person, it's really important to be really curious. Uh, I was possibly blessed that that muscle was there, but I think creative people and a lot of youngsters are here. If that muscle is a little weak in you, build that muscle, because curiosity, that muscle is really important. And Suresh, to answer your question, uh, you know, everything feeds with each other. Like, for example, when I get into the details of a single malt, you realize that some master distiller spent, like 10 years, 15 years to get that right. And that craft has to come into our work also. When I've got a really uh, a 16, let's say a 13 against a dealer's 10, right? Then I have to really decide that life has given me this hand to play, and I have to play it the best way possible. So I have to decide whether I should stand or, whether I should hit or go away, go out. So I think all these skills, the interest that one has, especially for a creative person, they feed each other.
Lulu, next question for you. You're the captain of a very large ship at Landor and Fitch. Now you need to have two eyes. One eye is focused on detail and one eye is focused on the telescope. How do you manage this microscope and telescope vision at the same time? Big picture and details all at the same time.
Wow, that's a really good question. I suppose it is playing both that strategic game, the long game, as well as the short term game, which is the everyday. It is a tough balancing act because a lot of times the everyday, the urgent really takes precedence. But I think it comes down to being very disciplined about how you spend your day, Suresh. So if you're not conscious of it, every day you can end up just attending to, in the moment, whatever's coming up as super urgent. but you've got to really keep an eye and block out time for the strategic thinking. Similarly, when it comes to work as well, there's the big idea, then there's the craft and the execution of it, right? There's another lens to the same question. So, there too, ensuring that all of the work is grounded in a big insight, in a big idea, but is brought to life in a very, very beautiful way with the craft that's expected, whether it's in the voice or the messaging, is important as well. So it's actually looking at both lenses and ensuring that you're keeping an eye on both. So I interpret your question in both ways, sort of long-term orientation as well as short-term, the bigger picture as well as the detail orientation. I think it is a balance. It's hard. You've got to be conscious about it. You've got to be intentional about it so that one side or the other doesn't take over.
Okay. Next question for E. Suresh. Uh, Suresh, over 400 films and 100 awards. When you started off as an animator, and I know you as a student, did you ever think one day you'll make a living out of it like the way you do?
No. I answered. No, okay. First of all, Suresh, I don't know whether you know, I wasn't, I was thrust upon animation at NID. I wanted to do film and video. So from there, everything that happened was unexpected. So, I was given animation as a field to specialize at a time when there were no computers. Everything had to be done manually because my faculty and the jury thought that I am an introvert and I can only work with a light box and I can't manage people. So for a very different reason, they awarded me animation, and I'm glad it's going the way it's going. Thank you. Can I have a glass of vodka like how Rajiv had? No, water is okay. We're going out to get some.
And me too, like Suresh.
Let me go to Ali with the next question. Ali, Bollywood is as much about creativity as it is about big money. We heard of 300 crores film and 1,000 crore films. As an actor, how do you balance the two? What you do for money for what you do for the love of the craft?
I mean, this is a bubble, right? You can either get it's a rabbit hole. You can either get sucked into it. A lot of people, a lot of my colleagues, a lot of people I know, I myself at some point have gotten spoiled by it. But at some point, everybody has to decide: is it about the craft? And when that becomes really good, then the economies change. I mean, I've just finished a film. I mean, the last film I did in Hollywood was an $80 million film. It doesn't, and that's a huge budget, but it requires that. A $3 million budget would be a mid-size film here, which is the lowest, how do you say, lowest budget films there. So I personally as an actor would not go into the maths of that. In fact, somebody had asked a question earlier, uh, do algorithms, I think you had asked, right? Do they start dictating terms in our worlds? And I still feel if your work is good, and if we're constantly reinventing, then everything else adjusts, even the algorithms, um, because that's the trend you start, and so that automatically feeds itself. Um, and yeah, I mean, AI, everything is built off that. So I suppose we're all striving for excellence in our own ways, and I'm looking to tell stories. I'm also writing stories, also producing stories. Again, because today we can, because the verticals are going sideways all over. I can spread my wings in more ways than I want to. We're actually dabbling with animation, so I'm like really excited to be sitting here. I'm just holding my excitement. And yeah, so this is. I'm glad that I can share some of it here. I'm glad I can share the stage with you guys. Yeah, thank you for that question.
Okay. Next question for Sonal. Sonal, advertising is as much about creative as it is about the client, isn't it? What happens when you have a great idea but not so great client?
I've realized that
Like all the time.
there are no bad clients, and I'm not saying it just for the sake of saying it, but I've realized that most of the time we agency people are bad listeners. Because we create something which we get obsessed with, we fall in love with it, and it's very important for creative people to be in love with what they do. But it's really important for, again, any creative person in an agency or who's working on his or her own, is to be really good listeners, because you have to be in that other person's shoes. He knows the product damn well. He has to, every quarter he has to show the numbers. There are shareholders. There is so many dynamics that are happening. And in that, you are going with, what a lovely commercial I've written. I must sell it. I'll get a can gold in it. And I must get a can gold. Oh, I should direct with maybe Ali. Ali will act in it. And so we are already making, before even going for the meeting, we are making these nice dreams. And then he says, यार, कुछ मजा नहीं आया. ये साला ऐसे कुछ नहीं आता यार. So I think I've seen most of the time the problem starts when we don't listen properly. And I think I'm not saying it's all black and white and there are no really bad clients. It's all gray and there's no bad clients. There are bad clients, but very, very few. I think most of the time it's to do with how much we are listening.
Okay. Lulu, do you agree that there are no bad clients?
I do agree. I think sometimes it's a bad fit. I also don't think there are bad agencies. Yes, sometimes, of course, the work's not great, but fundamentally, if we believe in the goodness of people, it all comes down to a bad fit.
Okay. Suresh, do you believe there are bad designers? They're saying there are no bad agency, no bad clients. They're all being very politically correct.
You clearly don't like our answer, Suresh.
I think ignorant clients are mostly, they turn out to be really bad, because and also those who don't want to pay. So we can say they are also quite bad. So I mean, I see it simply like that. You said bad designers. No.
Are they bad designers? Yeah. Do you know any?
I really feel when people really think that design is a major education and something like a big crown that they're wearing as a designer, I think then they miss the point, and then they kind of become bad designers. So I think that whole attitude of, oh, I'm a designer thing is a problem, because I really feel that design is something that something very close to common sense. So that's my definition of design. So
Okay. Suresh, my next question is also for you. Every second of work that you do, every single second involves some days, sometimes months of work. 1 month of work equals 1 second of animated film. How does the intensity of this work balance out with the financial returns of that work? I've seen a lot of work that you do, and it's not necessarily the most lucrative work to do.
it's a very delicate balance, Suresh. In the way we kind of manage it, it's really uh, it's really the work that you do with a lot of passion. Most of the time, are the ones that kind of bring a response, and it's value creation. Really, it's not in that simple terms of lucrativeness. You create a value with what you'd love to do, and that kind of reciprocates in terms of payment and balancing it out eventually. So it's really not one trying to do something straight away for money procurement, but it is more when you do things that you really like to do. Like, most of our short films are self-funded. It's not like somebody's paying for any of those films, but those films really create the value. And I mean, most of the times through advertisements or some other commissioned films, we kind of balance it out. So no second of work really goes waste in that sense. Did I answer?
Ali, you answered the question. Ali, let me ask you about the craft of your work. Acting is a different craft, writing is a different craft, directing is a different craft, and producing is a different craft. How do you juggle these different crafts in your business?
Hopefully with Mogo one day. Uh, it's work. It's literally the definition of what the homework that we have to put in. In fact, I used to take a lot of, and in fact, the best examples, and this is for actors, even for writers, the best visual example is animation. If you actually go back to your Tom and Jerry's and your old school animation, the it's the best depiction of where the breath is when you're in every single emotion. Am I right? Right? And that's, if people can follow that, if people can follow punctuation in writing, and I mean simple stuff like a half breath on a comma and a full breath on a full stop. I mean, half the job is done. I think people are not putting in the time to study, read, and do that homework. And I feel because everything is just so, it's all clickbait, right? It's all quick. So you want to fix, you want a visual fix for everything. So I suppose, and this is what I realize now, because I started writing now, very recently, we started producing recently. And in fact, when we named our production Pushing Buttons Studio, and we were actually looking for a sound for it. Sorry, I keep coming back to it because it's just so much you've said is so rings very true with everything. Yes, and that presentation.
Oh, hello. Now we are doing side business deals also here between Ali Fazal and Rajiv Raja. Very good.
No, and
MDX
thank
is
you as well, because these are the things that we want to. I mean, one act, right? One scene of mine has all of this in play. There's a team out there. So the glorification of one actor is actually, मतलब एक छोटा सा झूठ है वो, मुझे लगता है. There's a whole team out there. There's costumes coming in. There's writing and punctuation being laid out for you. There's somebody leading it. There's also music that's helping you navigate. There's all these emotions that you have mapped out. So, sorry, when you talk about craft, I can go on, and you literally named like the 5 pillars, right? So that's a very long conversation.
okay. Let me go to Lulu and cut you off. Lulu, speaking of orchestration of the kind Ali spoke about, actors, writers, costume designers, lighting guys, technical guys. In your business, a lot of different people have to work in perfect synchronization with each other. Designers, writers, salespeople, client servicing, God knows who else. When you run a creative business, what is the secret to run a two-part question? One, to holding all these people together, and B, preventing them from killing each other. How do you do it as a CEO?
Actually, we have the holy triumvirate, or the triad, if you will. So there's a client leader. So client lead, who is the guardian of the brief and understands what the client wants. You have the creative lead across visual, verbal, and then you have the strategic lead. So it's no longer a linear process of understanding the brief, writing the brief, then going into strategy, then going into creative, but all three actually working in unison. Everybody has their role, but united by the idea, the brief, the ambition, the creative ambition that you want to create. So that's sort of individual project level. I mean, I think that's the role of leadership, right? At an agency level, where you have everyone managing egos, ensuring that people leave their egos at the door when you come into work, and creating that culture and environment where it's really the team, it's the work, and it's not individuals who have the say. I mean, I think that's where creativity truly thrives, when individual agendas and egos are left aside. So part of my role is to constantly break down those kind of barriers, ensure that the triad is working on every brief, on every project that we're thinking about, and ensuring that the vision, the ambition that we're working towards is front and center. And all the pushing, all of the work, from the ideation to the detailing to the craft, is all in the service of that.
Okay. Next question for Sonal. Sonal, all of us, every single one of us, designers, actors, filmmakers, advertising guys, at some point is going to produce terrible work. It's going to happen. Not everything you do is going to be brilliant. What do you do when you know you did something but it's atrocious? How do you handle it?
Feel a bit depressed.
Single malt's always there?
Yeah, single malt's always there, and maybe a visit to the casino is always there. And if you lose there, you feel more depressed. But jokes aside, I think at the point in time when you've created really bad work, you have to ultimately tell yourself that you're a human being. Oh, hota hai kabhi kabhi yaar. And at that point in time, what I do is to think about all the great work that I've been part of and have, contributed to creating. And then you feel good about it. And I think the best part of any creative process is that from really bad work actually emanates good work. So when a really bad piece of work is created, you have to just, crumple that piece of paper, throw it. Next piece of paper, throw it. And be assured and have faith that from all those mistakes will come out some really good work.
Okay.
That's the beauty of creativity, I think.
Okay, final questions for each of you. Suresh, should design schools teach business or should they stick to teaching design?
Yeah, this comes after yesterday. I mean, I was at UPS in Dehradun, talking about what they should be doing as a design school. So it just seems like an extension of that discussion. I really feel wherever they teach design, it shouldn't be in a glass house situation. I think when we were taught design at NID, we were in a glass house situation where we are not in touch with the reality outside. If that sort of a strong barrier around us, if it is going to protect us, it is also going to alienate us from understanding the real problems and come up with impactful solutions. This is something that I think design schools should be very conscious about, and how much they can be in touch with reality, because eventually they have to make an impact out there and not in their lives. Most of the time it happens that you make a difference in your lives and not in other people's lives. So if that has to happen, really the design schools will have to be unboxed completely.
Okay. Right, rapid fire questions, one question for each one of you, and then I'm going to hand it over to Krishan for audience questions. Okay, first question, you have less than 1 second to answer. Ali, who's your favorite designer?
Dior? Shoot. Did I say Dior?
You said Dior? Okay,
Alexander
all right.
McQueen.
Lulu, who's your favorite actor?
Oh gosh. Really hard. Microphone. Amir Khan.
Amir Khan. All right. Okay. No insult to any actors on stage right now. Sonal Dabral, who is your favorite boss or was your favorite boss?
Favorite boss. Is that for Sonal?
Sonal, yeah, that's for Sonal.
Favorite boss.
My favorite boss, Neil French.
Yes. Neil French.
Oh,
And Suresh, what is your favorite hair product?
Kapoor also.
Yes. Suresh, final question. What is your favorite hair product, especially beard?
Pass.
All right, pass. Should we conclude the session with that? Thank you, Sonal. Thank you, Lulu. Thank you, Ali. And thank you, Suresh. And thank you, Krishan.